Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down what actually happens when YouTuber Arjun attempts a totally grueling 24-hour Uber auto shift in the absolute sweltering heat of Kochi. We're going to look at the raw, unfiltered reality of the gig economy, the unexpected hurdles of driving an electric vehicle, and find out exactly how much cash he takes home after pushing his body to the absolute limit. So, let's dive right into this reality check. Is driving an EV auto for a full day a lucrative gig, or is it just a fast track to total physical exhaustion? You know, when you look at the gig economy from the outside, it seems like a pretty simple equation, right? Turn on the app, drive, make money. But the reality on the ground is so much more punishing. The variables here, from glitchy algorithms to actual human physical limits, make this whole equation incredibly complex.
All right, part one, the 24-hour Uber challenge. Navigating the gig economy grind.
Things kick off at 1:30 p.m. in the intense afternoon sun. And let me tell you, there's no gentle onboarding phase here. You hit go online and bam, the app immediately throws you into the deep end of city traffic. Now, his initial plan was 24 continuous hours of driving, taking just a super quick food break at 5:30 to keep his energy up. But as you look down the timeline toward 1:30 a.m., a massive, unexpected roadblock derails everything. A dead battery forces a brutal 5-hour dead zone, completely turning this nonstop grind into a fractured, exhausting waiting game before he finally wraps up at 10 a.m. And honestly, his initial excitement fades pretty fast, turning into absolute panic during his very first ride. Imagine this, it's your first customer, you're trying your best to look professional, but instead your phone flies off the mount, you fumble the customer's OTP password 4 separate times, and the silence in the auto just becomes deafening. He actually notes that his aura fully went to negative, jokingly admitting he just wanted to crash the auto into a tanker to escape the pure embarrassment of it all. It's a pretty stark reminder of the immense multitasking and composure you need on day one.
Moving on to section 2, passengers and city navigation, the human element of Uber.
Once you get past the app interface and figure out the vehicle, being an Uber driver is really fundamentally about customer service and navigating some wildly diverse human interactions. Luckily, that first passenger, the one who witnessed his total OTP meltdown, ended up being completely chill and understanding, which thankfully saved Arjun's rating right out of the gate. Later on, he picks up a guy literally just doing a run to restock McFlurry supplies for a local McDonald's. But the real standout happens during the night shift. He basically launches a high-stakes rescue mission for a heavily intoxicated subscriber who makes him swear not to post the footage because his wedding is fast approaching. He even had to navigate complex language barriers with a Hindi-speaking tourist visiting Kerala. Literally, every single ride opens the door to a totally different, unpredictable world.
He also ran into some major unexpected hurdles, like suddenly realizing the app allows parcel deliveries. He gets a ping, accepts it, and realizes he's not picking up a person at all, he's picking up a package from an optics shop. But, the biggest enemy here wasn't the surprise package, it was the GPS. There's this deep irony in watching a billion-dollar global tech company's mapping software get completely utterly defeated by the narrow, winding alleys of Kerala. The app would confidently tell him to drive straight into places where there was literally no road, forcing these endless U-turns that just completely ate away at his precious time and super tight profit margins.
Which brings us to section 3, the EV charging struggle, when infrastructure fails.
Right around 1:30 a.m., the human challenges sort of take a back seat to a massive mechanical one. His battery drops to 32%. This is exactly where the modern promise of electric vehicles violently clashes with the reality of our current infrastructure. On one hand, the EV auto is a total dream for city driving. It's incredibly smooth, super maneuverable in tight spaces, and dirt cheap to run. But the dark side of that equation? Severe range anxiety. He's constantly terrified to use the auto's race mode because it just chews through the battery, and he ends up heavily burdened by incredibly slow, totally unreliable charging options.
The reality of the local EV infrastructure hits really hard when he actually goes to plug in. Just picture this, it's the middle of the night, it's pouring rain outside, and the designated charger the app sends him to is essentially an exposed wire on a street pole. Realizing that plugging a high-voltage battery into an exposed pole in the rain is a massive fire hazard and just incredibly dangerous, he has to drain his remaining battery driving 3 kilometers away just to find a safe, covered basement charger in the Venus estate. And because this isn't some high-speed commercial charger, he is completely grounded from 1:30 a.m. all the way to 6:30 a.m. That is 5 agonizing hours of literally zero income.
All right, section 4, night grind and physical toll, pushing past the pain.
When morning finally hits after that massive charging delay, the physical toll of just sitting in that three-wheeler becomes entirely impossible to ignore. The initial adrenaline of the challenge? Yeah, that's completely gone, replaced by the sheer mechanical repetition of driving. Battling severe knee pain from the constant braking and accelerating, plus pure exhaustion, Arjun pushes through the final morning traffic. But you know what's really interesting? The ultimate barrier to finishing wasn't just his own failing body, it was the software. Uber's safety algorithm actually kicks drivers offline after 12 hours of active driving time. There's a profound irony there. The gig economy incentivizes you to grind until you literally break down, so much so that the machine itself has to step in and tell the human to stop working just to prevent an accident.
Finally, Section 5. Final earnings breakdown. Was it actually worth it? At 10 a.m., he finally returns the auto to its owner, and we get to look at the cold, hard numbers of this grueling effort. All that knee pain, the weird passenger encounters, the 5 hours stranded in a basement, what does it actually equate to financially? Well, out of a 20-hour total elapsed window, he was only able to actively drive for about 13 hours. That number is obviously heavily skewed by that massive EV charging delay. In that time, he completed 25 separate trips. His gross earnings from the app came to 2,377 rupees. But here is where the electric vehicle truly shines. His total energy cost for all that driving was a staggeringly low 200 rupees.
So after subtracting those charging expenses, his ultimate net profit for 13 hours of agonizing driving and 25 trips lands at exactly 2,177 rupees. When you break that down into an hourly rate, it puts things into pretty sharp perspective. You might look at it as roughly 167 rupees an hour for just the active driving time, but remember, he devoted 20 total hours of his life to this challenge. When you factor in the massive amount of time spent literally just waiting for the auto to charge, that actual hourly rate drops significantly. It paints a much harsher picture of the gig economy hustle, doesn't it?
Looking at the physical pain, the totally unpredictable passenger interactions, and the stark reality of current EV infrastructure, we're going to leave you with this final thought. The flexibility is definitely there, and yeah, the EV operational costs are incredibly low. But the lack of infrastructure and the sheer physical toll demand a really heavy price. So, knowing exactly what it takes to earn that 2,177 rupees, could you survive 24 hours in the driver's seat? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll see you next time.